And welcome back to Mobile Mornings here on FM Talk 106.5. Right now it's time for another segment of Law 251. And in today for Law 251 is Desi Tobias with the local law firm Tobias & Comer Law. Desi, thanks for coming in today.
Dalton, great to see you again. Always enjoy our visits.
I do too. And I've got to say, we're at that point of the year where people are looking back at how the whole year has gone for them, looking forward into the next year and how things may go. And when you come in, or when Brian comes in, I've learned more from your visits here than I ever did in any class in college. So that's partially my fault. I didn't try to learn too hard while I was in college. But you guys have made it easy, and a lot of this stuff that I would call legalese, you make it easy for someone like me to understand. So I want to start off by thanking you for that. But as we look back at this year, I'd like to know from you kind of what you've been into this year over at Tobias & Comer Law. And I know here we've talked about many things over the years. We've talked about product liability, uninsured motorist coverage. That was a great one that I just had no idea about. Maritime law, a big deal down here. And of course, we've discussed so many things in your time coming here to Mobile Mornings. But I want to talk about this last year for you and any big cases you feel like you had.
Well, we love what we do, and I really mean that because overall we're helping individuals. We're helping people who have been injured, who have had something really terrible happen to them. And there's nothing we can do to fix that. I mean, we can't, if somebody, a loved one has died, I can't change that. But someone is paralyzed or something. It's a terrible thing. And the fact that happened, we can't erase that.
Right.
But what we can do is make their life better, to try to provide for them, to, someone who lost somebody who supported them, to give them a means of support. And we really get to know the people and enjoy doing that, to help them. And it's such a palpable sense of relief and I want to say gladness when something like that ends that you've worked so hard for. And what we do, we put everything we got into it, our time, our money, our effort, our knowledge. I've been doing this 37 years. Brian's been doing it almost 20. And we've handled many cases like that. And so it really is a sense of satisfaction that comes from the job and doing something like that. And there are some cases this year I can't really get into, who it was or what it was. But for instance, there was a little girl who was a month old when her mother died. Her mother was young. And we were able to obtain a recovery when it didn't seem like that was possible.
Wow. And
that girl has an annuity that will pay for her as she gets older. We can't bring her mother back, but we can. There's money in probate court for her. But we can do something to alleviate that, to make some type of a right out of a wrong. There have been some other cases where a man was paralyzed after a lawnmower rolled over. That was a very tough case, and we were successful there. And along with anybody else, it doesn't have to be a horrific injury like that, but we take it very seriously. We want to help the individual. We want to do the best we can as lawyers to assist them.
Yeah, and I think what you said there connected with so many people that are listening right now, because having a job is one thing, but having a purpose is an entirely different thing. And when you can line up that purpose with your job, well, then you should be, smoking on all cylinders and really living as close to a fulfilling life as you can professionally. And I've sensed that when I talk with you and Brian. And I imagine those long hours that you put into cases like this, that knowing you're helping someone like that 1-month-old girl, that makes it a little easier to keep putting in those hours.
It does. And in a way, there are other factors to it in that, but always at the back of my mind, I know that that's what it's for and what we're fighting for. But it's competitive too, just like anybody. People often think, well, you knew the other lawyer or something. Well, sure you do, but if you're playing golf, do you want to lose?
Right, yeah.
We want to do the best we possibly can and knock it out of the park for the client. And the competition of it, the ups and downs, the whatever, it can be very stressful at times. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of what I look forward to doing and waking up and doing and going out there and fighting, that's what I like to do.
And we've talked about this in the past as well, and how Tobias and Comer Law is different than so many other law firms. And when I say you guys are a local law firm, I mean it. And you'll work your client's case from beginning to end, and even a lot of times after that. I know you've gotten to know some of your clients over the years and have kept in touch when their cases were, years in the past.
And that's true. One of the cases that settled that I just told you about, they were older, they didn't do email or things like that. And I used to, whenever there was something that happened or needed to be discussed, I would go to their living room and sit there, and the man was in his hospital bed, and we would talk, and I would talk with his wife. And it finally, everything resolved, and they said, I sure hope you come back.
Wow.
And I will, and I have. And there are other clients, so I'll go meet them where they're living in a nice place, which otherwise wouldn't have been the same. And they become friends, and we talk, and they send us people. And that's the best form of flattery, I think, is to have a client that appreciated what you did and remembers you and sends you someone else.
For sure. Talking with Desi Tobias for Law 251. He's with Tobias and Comer Law. And I mentioned earlier, you bring new stuff for me to the table every time you come in. Like when we talked about uninsured motorist coverage, I learned so much when you came in to discuss that. But I wanted to know, with you or with Brian, are you guys still hit with new stuff every now and then where you're like, what in the world? I've never covered a case like this. I know that when that happens, you get to the bottom of it quickly and become experts in a very fast manner. But you've worked here in law in Mobile for so long. Does anything new surprise you anymore?
Well, and it is new. I want to say that I've done it all in terms of the injury aspect of it. You name it, whether it's wrongful repossession or dram shop or maritime or products liability or slip and fall or whatever. But what's new are the facts of the case. The people are new. And so something may focus on a certain aspect of a product, like a tire or something like that. We learn all about it. Something like highway conditions or whatever. We learn all about the law or the facts that relate to that. We have to become experts in those areas. So
Right.
in some instances, that's new. I have a maritime case right now that I'm working on that is in another state, actually, but the person's from here, and it's all about a barge winch and the Mississippi River and how it's supposed to be operated or not. And
Yeah.
we have spent more hours on that one issue than you would imagine, but we do become, and you learn. It's something that at some point that's part of my knowledge base, but in terms of the law, whether what type of law it is, I'm very familiar with all that.
Yeah, I could see you got excited when you were thinking about delving into something like that with that case you're working on there. And as we talk about this being the end of the year, of course, with that comes a lot of end-of-year parties, whether it's business parties, family parties, whatever it may be. And on the website, TobiasComerLaw.com, you have a bunch of great information, but I know you guys are always wanting to make sure people are as safe as possible when they go out to these parties.
Yeah, and that's right. And again, that's the law is something we know about. It's always interesting to me. We are big on safety and wanting everybody to be as safe as possible. A lot of questions I get, though, is there a social host liability? If you have somebody in your house for a Christmas party and they are overserved, are they civilly liable? And the law is interesting. It changed back about 100 years ago where you have to violate a law in order to have dram shop liability. The person's act of voluntary intoxication, of drinking the alcohol voluntarily, and to continue drinking it generally insulates somebody unless they break the law. For instance, a social host who serves a minor, that's against the law.
Right.
There would be liability there. A bar has an ABC license that says don't serve somebody visibly intoxicated. That's a violation of law. You could bring a claim under the dram shop statute, but overall, we're all reasonable and know you shouldn't overserve somebody and
Right.
have that thought or that prospect of people leaving your house and doing something on the roadway.
See, I told you I learned something new every time, and here you go at the end of the year breaking out a new one for me. So I appreciate that, Desi, and I appreciate everything you and Brian and Jennifer do for the community, your whole team there at Tobias and Comer Law, and really appreciate you coming in today.
Well, Dalton, always great to talk to you. I always enjoy our chats. Good to see you again, and have a good Christmas.
Hey, same to you. That's another segment there of Law 251 with Desi Tobias from Tobias and Comer Law. Again, you can check them out online, Tobias Comer Law.